Hello, folks. Welcome to Between Awesome and Disaster. This is your host, Will Carey. I appreciate you all tuning in. I hope you're doing well, staying safe. I hope you had a great holiday, and if you're having a good Boxing Day, if you're listening to this on the day it came out, to all my Canadian friends out there. I'm recording this intro at the end of what proved to be a very unexpectedly long week. It's currently hailing in New York City as I record this, but that's not the biggest thing that happened this week. Like, I gotta talk about this a little bit. My wife's Uncle Ed, who also came to be my Uncle Ed as well, passed away unexpectedly this week, and it's very, very unfortunate, and it's sad the way that it happened. But the one thing, because again, I try to be the look for slivers of light in the darkness. I was glad I was able to get my wife to him before he passed, so that she was able to see him, and I was also glad that I was able to be there with him in his last moments. Because imagine that is when you're on your way out of the world that you don't want. I think it's nice that you're not in that moment alone. And I was glad that I was able to be there with Ed at that moment. And I'm trying to remember, like, the good memories I've had of him. I was able to see him for Thanksgiving this past year. We had great conversations, merriment as usual. And not to dive into this too much, but all the stories I've heard of it is he is the quintessential best uncle in the world, like just fully embodied that role. And my wife has some great stories, and I intend to in the near future work some of those stories into a day of activities to kind of pay tribute to Ed and his kind of vibe and essence, because he was a character and quite a excellent, affable guy. And I'm fortunate that I'm glad that I got to know him for the time that I did. So rest in peace, Uncle Ed. You were a real one. You were a great one, and I'm happy that I knew you. I hate to pivot. So the other thing that is I'm just glad that I'm getting to spend some time with some friends during this couple of weeks as well, coming out of the holidays. By the time you're listening to this, the last night of Hanukkah will actually be on Christmas's day as well, or Christmas night, so you get double holiday, which is always fun when those overlap. And again, I think I said to all of my friends celebrating Boxing Day today, if you're listening to this on the day of it came out, I appreciate you. And also, and on the subject is like spending time with friends, I did that recently this couple weekends ago in North Carolina for my friend Leo's wedding, and we're going to do that today on the show as well, because because that's that's what I like to do around this time of year. And like, one of my favorite annual traditions that has spawned out of doing this podcast is that my friend Paul Cohen, who is our guest on the show today, I think this is maybe his 5th or 6th appearance on the show. Out of doing this podcast, we have come up with a kind of annual holiday tradition where Paul will come on and we will discuss our favorite pop punk of the year. That be our favorite moments, favorite songs, albums, singles, EPs, the whole thing. And there's always like a lot of great listening suggestions after this episode, and this one is no different. But I'm especially excited because not only are we coming off of 2 really great sketch shows for our group Backdoor BBQ at the People's Improv Theater, but we are also featuring an exclusive podcast exclusive performance of one of Paul's songs from that recent show. So if you weren't able to get out to the show in New York City, Paul wrote a Hanukkah emo pop punk song that I think we're calling 8 nights right now, but I that could change, but that's what I really like this song, so I was like, Paul, can you play it on the show? And he's like, sure. So we're going to get into that, and I feel like this is probably one of the most this is a long episode, but it is one of the more natural ones as far as like just having a chat with my friend Paul in our annual holiday tradition of going over our favorite pop punk of the year, of which there was a lot of great moments. Simple Plan put out a new album that was great. I broke my arm at Newfound Glory's 20th anniversary Sticks and Stones tour. They got an acoustic album coming up. I saw Simple Plan and Sum 41. Tom DeLong rejoined Blink-182. A lot to discuss, and we're going to get into it now. So let's chat with my friend Paul and talk about the year that was in pop punk and comedy. So thanks again for listening, and let's chat with Paul. Oh, to like drop C sharp
guy.
Well, I feel like there lots of pop punk nowadays does do that sort of like those heavy metal tunings, like not fully like to drop B like the Slipknot tuning, but I know Goalkeeper play in drop D a whole step down.
I think a lot of bands do it because pop punk has those more whiny like vocals.
Yeah,
and it normalizes it makes it easier for the singers.
Yeah.
To do.
Yeah, I've found that like playing even just a half step down helps me sing a little bit better. I've always wanted to try like writing a song in that low of a tuning, but I tend to just keep with more regular tunings.
If I had 2 guitars, because I'm too lazy to keep tuning it back and forth, just give me the you know.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, down tuning is easier with electric guitar than acoustic guitar. And I mainly just do acoustic stuff at this point. And I don't think you're meant to be tuning acoustic guitars way down either.
Yeah, I've seen
that's how I break strings.
Right. I think this Wildlife. I think this Wildlife have a few songs that are a full step down in acoustic, but they're like the only ones I can think of. Because otherwise it gets just too like floppy, and especially with. Because I love open chords, and I love like really big droning strings. So at a certain point, it gets too like like muddy.
I like it bright. It's fair. It's fun a little bit, but the whole guitar down, that seems like a lot of work.
Yeah. Well, that's why I have a pedal called the Digitech drop pedal that like digitally changes it.
That's cool. That's more my speed.
That's kind of my speed too, and also it helps with like. I have this idea of like if I was ever going to play like a solo acoustic gig, I would want to do like loops and stuff, like my friend Barry in Liverpool.
Yeah.
And like loop bass lines and stuff.
I don't think there's anything more impressive than watching someone live create a song with different parts. It's no matter how many times I've seen it, it's still you're like, wow, how?
I know, it's like super impressive.
I wouldn't trust myself to do that and hit all the buttons right or.
Yeah, and like loop it for the right number of measures and stuff. Yeah. Well, I feel like you like live are like just great with just the guitar and vocals.
I got to be simple because if I'm not simple, then I think in my head a lot, and I almost zone out too when I sing. I stare out. I don't look at someone. I don't like look people in the eye. I'm just staring out generally.
Yeah, you just kind of
hoping it's okay.
We're recording this like a couple of days after Backdoor just did our December shows, and you played a song, and people get into your songs, man. It's really cool to see because like
I'm always surprised, but I'm just thankful at this point.
Well, because they're funny and like legitimately, I would listen to it as a song because I have seen a fair amount of like musical comedy in New York that there's not a ton of they don't stand up. Like I've seen a lot of stuff that doesn't stand up on its own as funny or stand up on its own as music. And one thing that annoys me about musical comics is they are more often than not in tune. Like the guitar is out of tune.
Yeah.
And you are always in tune.
I've found, yeah, it's a weird mix. I have to say, it's weird talking about myself, number one. But someone, I was talking to someone after the show. People are so nice after the show. First off, they understand that it's a pop punk emo thing, which I love. But that was what someone told me. They liked it. They said, I understand the comedy element about it, but they're like, I feel like if you just recorded the song, it's fine too. And I was like, that's kind of what I was going for. There's nothing worse than seeing musical comedy and it either not being funny or not being good music.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what's the point? Just do one or the other then.
No, totally. Like comedy magicians, like that old Patton Oswalt joke is like, are you a bit boring comedian? Learn a magic trick. Are you a bad magician? Learn a dick joke.
Wait, dick jokes are bad? That's my whole. No, I'm just kidding.
But the song you did this time was so good. Like I don't know if Saturday Night Show, which was great. Like it's been so exciting to see the pit packed for these shows. But I don't know if you could hear, but Chelsea and I were in the back singing along to the chorus by the final.
I heard a little. Sometimes the crowd gets really into it and sings along. I heard some. But there was one show, I think around July 4th, where I could hear the crowd louder than me.
Yeah.
Which was a great feeling. So it's a trick to try to write a song catchy enough to get people to be able to sing it over and over. But I don't know. I'm thankful they let me do it. So the song I did was the first song I ever did with Backdoor.
Was the 4th
I
of
wanted
July
to
song?
do the Hanukkah song that I just did. I wanted to do it again. I had done it. I hadn't done it in a while. It was probably before COVID, but I really liked it, and I was like, this never really saw the light of day. So I was like, I'm just gonna do this one again. I really just want to do the song live.
Oh yeah, well, and I'm hoping we can get it documented for the holiday season later in this chat. Yeah. But that show, I felt like, and how many shows did we do this year?
5.
5.
Well, we started 5 because we came back mid-year. We do every 2 months. And I remember the July show we did. I think it was really an oversell because I think they just kept putting people in until we hit the fire marshal capacity.
Yeah.
And because I remember they asked me before the show, the house manager was like, should we keep letting in people, turn people away? And I'm like, no, like let them in. I'll never have this opportunity again in my life. Like, yeah, bring them in.
Yeah.
And then we're really lucky, like thanks to the pit and everyone there. Like Sean Christian Taylor was probably a big piece of it, but getting us to move, probably Matt Pridgy too, but getting us to move from one show to 2 shows because we put a lot of work into those shows. And it's much more fun to be doing it on a Thursday and Saturday just doing one show.
No,
which was
I
great, really great. Yeah,
yeah. I especially the past show. I was so happy to get to like do it again because I was just had so much fun.
Yeah, and thank you because you filled it. We had this was our COVID show, and that we had to do one rehearsal completely Zoom, and then one where you came and actually. So we had actors.
Yeah, I was actually filling in for a cast member who had gotten COVID and couldn't go to a rehearsal. So it was kind of cool to be able to get involved in that part of the process that early on. Because lots of times I just kind of show up for the tech and make my notes to do the cue to cues. And Mike is so great about making. You guys are so great about making it a really easy.
Chris
tech.
And I will be like, yeah, we're honest. Where it's Mike.
Where like lots of times I just have to go in and like everything's already going. It's just boom, 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 and nowhere to hit. I just work out where to hit things. And the other thing is like everybody always apologizes to me for having cues, and I'm like, no, it's. That's what I'm here to do.
Yeah, it's a sign we're the nice group, I think, where we know we put a lot of stuff in there. But at the same time, that's why you're there.
Yeah.
So it's this fun thing to be like, oh man, I put like 17 cues in this sketch, but sorry, like we mean it out of love.
100%. Yeah.
It's really more of a formality of it's less of a sorry and more of like I appreciate you because I don't make it easy on you. I think that's what the sorry entails.
Yeah, and my no problem is just like a literally no problem because it's like it's super chill and the scripts are always really well like format. Like it's like because at this point, Backdoor BBQ is like the second longest running sketch show at the pit, which
I
is
don't know if that
kind of
makes me
crazy.
feel cool or really old, but I'll take it.
No, I think it's cool.
Oh, we survived a bit. I think the pandemic for me was a great reset of what you really love to do.
Uh-huh.
And Backdoor's been around for a while, but I would say it's fair during the pandemic where you sort of gravitated to the people you wanted to speak to. And me, you, Mike, Chris, we talked all the time.
Yeah.
We realized we're like, oh, we're more friends who do sketch comedy than a sketch comedy group cobbled of random people.
Yeah,
That's what
absolutely.
I took away from those years, because we didn't do anything for over 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, well, like we did not get on stage, like because we couldn't, and then like with the pit, like with two of the big theaters going away, and now it's just the one small theater.
Yeah. I love how they're run now, though. It seems I've not had any issues in terms of shows really running over or being able to get in before the show. They seem to be selling really well. The community's great.
Yeah.
Like I know I got to go out and support, because at our show there were so many people there who are in classes now starting sketch groups, and I'm like, well, that's how we met.
Yep.
And I got to go back and support them, right?
Yeah.
'Cause I always appreciate when people did that for me in the reverse. So.
Mm-hmm. Oh, totally. And like I always like being like to have that slight little bit of like elder statesman status is kind of fun. Like it's like a way of like giving back, of like putting some positivity back into into the community that created the thing for you.
Which, like I said, I laughed because I think I'm an idiot, and I'm just like, wow, that's funny. You want to listen to anything I have to say? Sure.
Mm-hmm.
No, we're surrounded by good people, and everyone kind of plays their parts really well too. It's fun. There's no egos.
Oh yeah.
Hate drama in groups, so I have a hard time. I feel like I have a hard time being in another sketch group, because I've never been in a group where there's really no infighting and everything's for the good of the show. And no one's ever mad that their sketch gets caught or they switch a role part. No one bats an eye. It's really like, all right, what is going to be the best for the end product for the user or the audience, and that's it.
Yeah,
which is not normally the case. I can vouch for that.
But yeah, that's what it should kind of always like be about. And then especially for me, like coming from stand up, where I'm like the center, used to being the center of attention, and then in sketch I do more of the behind the scenes stuff. Just like whatever I can. I love setting, if there is something I could do to set you guys up to really pop the audience, to use like a wrestling term, I get really excited about that. Like especially like during news, because that's so cue heavy, or just really well timed. If I can say, and this has probably come up a few times when we do our holiday episode, Paul. I love our favorite trope that I think we've come up with. That's kind of a rubbing.
I know what you're gonna say.
You know what I'm gonna say, right?
Yeah.
I love when we monologue over Thunder by Boys Like Girls in like whatever context. It always makes me laugh.
First off, it always hits for an audience, and if you ever come to see a Backdoor BBQ show, there's a 99% chance that I wrote that sketch, because because Mike specifically sometimes will make fun of me. There's one sketch I wrote. He's like, "Oh yeah, this is a Paul sketch. You got the monologue, you got the sitcom ending. I forget the third one was, but it was like, you do the same. This is your signature thing." And I'm like, but it's funny, And this show, I wasn't in the sketch. I wrote it, but I wasn't in it. But I've done it before, so I've been the person walking into the spotlight that you hit, and you time it really well to like let the audience breathe, cut the lights, spotlight, music. You give the audience that moment to pick up what's going on, and that cast member. And I was trying to explain it to the cast members. I'm like, it's in the script it just looks like a regular line, but you're gonna pause, get up, it's gonna hit you. It's your own world. Speak to the audience.
So you wrote the Saint Nick sketch. The Santa one. Like
that went through so many iterations too. I got to give Becca Hamburg, our director, a lot of credit, because I was on like the 4th rewrite of it. We're crazy, and I finally sent it to her. I'm like, help! I need help. And then she went in and helped me fix it a lot because it was all over the place. It was too big. It was too long. We had to keep condensing it.
That's good. That's a good function of a director in a in a sketch show, sort of like the curator and the editor. And again, like really bringing people in as these like guest collaborators. It's again to such a good vibe.
Might as well use them.
Yeah, 100%. And I work pretty hands-on with all of them, like up in the booth during the Q2Q. But yeah, like every time there's a turn and we monologue, if I ever get to interview the lead singer of Boys Like Girls, I've got to tell him, like, hey, so this might not make any sense, but trust me, I mean this with like the highest praise. My friend Paul and I love your band, and we have a recurring joke that ends up in a lot of the sketches we do for our group where we monologue over thunder.
It was your suggestion. It was like 5 years ago, and we were in the old underground pit, and we had a scene, and we're like, that'd be funnier as a monologue. And we were like, what's the best song? And you were like, I don't even think you told us. You were just like, all right, do the scene. I got it. Give me 30 seconds. And I imagine you were,
I was
on
downloaded
the song or something, and you put it in. So then every time I write, I'm like, it's kind of, at this point, it's sort of a running joke that I'm going to keep doing it, but it works so well.
It does, because like I love that song, number one. Like I remember when that album came out, and just really like I heard that song the first time, I was like, oh, that's really, really good. It's that classic, like, I'm pretty sure the chords are some variation on like D, G, B, and A, but I find that pattern just so satisfying, and especially like with slowly strummed acoustic guitar, and it's like a very like yearning kind of song. Like it just, the whole vibe of it is like if I was writing like a coming of age movie,
that would be in there.
Yes, this is the song that plays over the end monologue, where I'm just like, that summer is when I really came into myself and learned what I was going to be for the rest of my life. I will always be appreciative of Paul, Chris, Mike, and the summer. Exactly, and then it crescendos up, and it's like directed by Will Carey.
Well, if you want a little fun nugget, when I'm doing the same monologue and it takes place in a little older time, or it's an older character, I always go to the Dawson's Creek song. It's the mix, and the show got to use both of them.
Yes, funny. I feel like extensive use of and then especially when Chris tries to do the failed monologue.
Oh, yeah, that's great. And that was
funny.
Another that came out in rehearsal.
We
just thought, someone was like, hey, wouldn't it be fun? I don't know if it was Sunny or Becca, but they were just like, wouldn't it be funny if Chris went to go do one and the lights didn't work, like nothing hit?
Right.
And I'm like, yes, please do that, like, because I wrote it, so people are gonna think it was mine. It's funnier.
No, totally. What other sketches did you write this past show?
Only 2 of mine got in. I tend to have a lot cut down. My sketches are weird. The Claire's Lord of the Earrings one.
That was funny.
That one hit pretty. I was very happy with how that hit.
Yeah, that one hit really well. The Sharper Image one was like
very funny.
Very funny. Like I didn't tell Mike this, but I could see that being on Saturday Night Live
for sure.
That is like so much like an SNL style sketch. Like it's that same sort of, it hits all those beats of like the Romano Tours parody or their commercial ones. But I really want to film. I want to film that and like put it on YouTube. Do like a filmed version of that sketch.
That'd be cool.
It's so good.
I would love to film more. I had one that was cut that I really wanted to do, and I hit up one of the cast members after because we were really deep into talking about it. I was like, let's talk a week after the show. We don't have to do it right after, but if we're still feeling this, let's film it because it's so dumb but easy to film, one location. And
oh yeah, and which is my kind of favorite things to do, because I feel like filming, like, and I think about this a lot because I'm been slowly acquiring gear over the past couple of years. I feel like, and I love low indie film and like low budget like cinema and like French New Wave, like all stuff that's like not huge, big, massive movies, like movies that are just like a couple people talking. Yeah, I love that stuff. And for New York especially, like I find it's so difficult to film like in public because there's so many people everywhere you go. So I'm big on like, well, can we shoot? Maybe we could write a whole movie in the pit and instead of in the pit, like maybe we could do that.
Hey, my friend did that. He filmed a full length movie, and it took place. There are a lot of scenes that took place in the old pit.
Mm-hmm. What was that movie?
The Improviser.
Uh-huh.
Do you know Dan Florio?
I don't know if I do.
I don't know if you know Dan, but Dan and I were in a sketch group for years, and we've done a million things together. He's like a really talented writer director, and Chris Siako produces a lot of the stuff and does a lot of good work with it. And Dan had wrote this movie, The Improviser. I did have a bit part in it. I was running a
nice
improv, I guess, open mic or something. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
I probably did 5 minutes, 6 minutes on stage, and like 30 seconds got in. But Mike was in it. In my improv group, it was a couple people. Chris wasn't available, I don't think, but Mike and I and 2 other people. And the credits is Backdoor BBQ is the name of the improv team in the movie.
Nice.
But where was I going with this? Oh, but anyway, yeah. And so a lot of those scenes, because they were his comedy stuff, he had filmed at the old pit, underground and the top.
Very cool. Very, very, very cool. Because that's like the next on my list, because like I finally put my EP out this year. And then like the next on my like artistic checklist is like, okay, now I want to like make a movie or like either full length or a feature, something like that. Like I have all these things on my list.
I could see you making a fun mockumentary, like a music mockumentary. I think that you could be really good at that because it has a lot of talking head scenes, which would be very easy to film.
Oh yeah, like a pop star kind of thing. Yeah,
like a pop punk mockumentary.
Oh yeah, totally. It's like, okay, yeah. So here, the thing about the hardcore scene in the 80s is that like, not a lot of the bands were good, but we talk about them like they're important.
It's interesting to think of what bands were actually good versus important. And what's the difference, and who cares, and what does it matter?
Yeah, like I remember like this would probably be controversial before we get into the like.
Do it, hot take.
So I remember like being really into Rites of Spring, like when I was in college, who are considered like one of the first emo or emo-core bands. And then I listened to it recently. It didn't really hit me the same way that it did.
I mean, I think there's a bit of nostalgia. Do you remember 4 Minute Mile by the Get Up Kids?
Yes.
That album. I love that album when I was younger.
I
think I like, Oh Amy, Don't Hate Me. I think that was on it.
Yeah.
And I remember just loving it. And then I had put it on. And that was, I guess, before the Get Up Kids got on a more regular label. But I put it on. I was like, oh, this quality's not great. This is like I revered this thing. But now I was like, oh, I remember it, but I remember it being much different.
Sure. That's how I feel about a lot of the rap I used to listen to. I used to listen to like a lot of horrorcore and like people that wear makeup and rap like about horror movies and stuff.
Such a specific genre.
Very, 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 very specific. That was kind of my thing. But as far as like stuff this year, and man, I feel like this year was like I feel like, well, first off, I feel like a lot of stuff happened to me this year, and I did like a lot of things. But then I also feel like there's just so much there was just so much great music that came out this year in a wide variety of places, and like shows were like more. I feel like going to shows felt closer to normal this year.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I
think. I mean, I didn't go to a lot. This year was a weird year for me. Just so much stuff going on in my life on so many different angles.
Yeah.
So I feel like when I did go to shows, you're right. It just felt normal again.
Yeah.
But normal in that I didn't think about it being normal. I just went and it was the show.
Yeah, I kind of like felt the same way. Like a lot of it started feeling like how it did in the before time
before.
Yeah, exactly. Like I was still cautious. Like if I was taking my mask off before I got boosted again, because I'm up to the 2 boosters now. I was doing it in a way. First off, this was also the year of me like okay, let's go up to the mezzanine, or like let's find like a strategic place to watch a show and not get
You're a very
sweaty
brave
in the
person.
pit.
I did that years ago. I did that early on.
Yeah.
I beat up my body probably so much in the 20s.
Hmm.
Years ago, I was like, I'm good.
Yeah. Well, there was one show I went to where it got a little more physical than I was anticipating this year. But the first show I would love to talk about, because it was just what other like what. All right, let me think about this. First show I want to talk about, not only because I know we're both gonna love it, but also because like very memorable experience.
Is it the band
for
of
me.
the shirt?
Yes, it's the band of the shirt. So yeah, I want to. So this year, New Found Glory did the 20th anniversary tour for Sticks and Stones. I went to their date in New York at Terminal 5, and I did the VIP experience.
I remember I had a work trip, and I didn't fly in to that Friday, and my flight was delayed. So I didn't buy tickets, and then I didn't even really get home till late that night, so I wouldn't have made the show.
Yeah.
I remember being really mad I couldn't go, and then I actually even then guilty after you're gonna tell the next part of your story that I didn't go.
Right. Where I felt after the show, and I'll discuss like the VIP experience in the show itself, but after the show, I tripped on the sidewalk and fell and broke my elbow.
Punk rock.
Very, very punk rock. And I was in a sling for 2 to 3 months.
I know, because I remember being like, hey, can you, we have the show in July. Can you tech it like physically?
Yeah. And I was worried about it, but I think I was able to, I was able to do it.
You did it. Yeah.
I did it just fine. I was able to kind of like mostly, because my hand still worked. So I just kind of parked it by the space bar, and then I used my left hand to hit the escape, and then
I took your word for it. I didn't think you'd lie about it. But I remember Chris and Mike were like, "Is he good to do it?" And I was like, "He said he's fine."
Oh yeah, no, I would have told you if I wasn't. But yeah, it's still like an asterisk on that show for me now. But the show was so good, and for some reason I never do the like upgrades for like or meet and greet VIP things. But for this particular show, because I was like, I love this band, I love this album, I'm gonna do it and see what it's like, because it's pretty nice. There's a couple of cool things you get. I got a cool poster. I got a cool pin. I got a laminate. I got to buy merch early.
And the poster was I don't know, that's probably pretty cool.
Yeah, the poster's cool. It's nice because it has dirt from where I fell, and like Gatorade beer got splashed on it.
So it's really one of a kind.
It's very much one of a kind. But the cool thing was, what New Found Glory do for their like sound check meet and greets. First off, they're all like shooting the shit with all of us, like we're like they know us. They're like super chill, nice people, and then they like take requests for songs to play for sound check, and they say, oh well, if we're gonna play it tonight, then we'll just tell you we're gonna play it tonight and you can pick something else. And so people are like shouting out like the most obscure songs, and somebody in front of me said something from Coming Home, and then I remember going, oh yeah, let me find something on Coming Home, and then I was on my phone, and then I saw Oxygen. I was like, I don't know if they've, and so I remember after they play a song, I remember calling out, Oxygen, and Chad's like, Oxygen, that's a good one. Other people are like, oh yeah,
Nice.
but what was so cool is that Jordan had to look up the lyrics on his phone, because I don't think they'd played it since they toured that
I don't
album.
blame them. I got no hate there.
And
they have a lot of songs.
They got a lot of songs. Yeah, this is, oh yeah, no blame, but I just love that I picked like such an obscure song that he had to do that. And then also Chad was like reteaching
Ian
Ian the song. It's like 3 3 3 3 3 3 3 open.
Well, at least you didn't pick one too complicated. That song seems somewhat straightforward, right? Guitar and bass.
Yeah, that song's it's just like a couple of palm muted, and then it's pretty much, I think the chorus is the same chords, just all open. And I got to chat with Cyrus for a little bit after the sound check.
Oh, that's cool. They're all nice, super nice guys.
Super, super nice.
And side note, big ups to Chad. Hope he's feeling good.
Yes,
He
Chad
had a crazy year.
Yeah, Chad was diagnosed with an incredibly rare form of cancer that he had to have like removed from his abdomen, and then he had to have like it removed because it spread to his back. So he had like a bunch of like really heavy surgeries. I'm actually think I'm gonna buy their charity shirt that they're doing.
Oh, I'd buy it just to support. You know.
Yeah. So I'm definitely gonna do that. But what's interesting, and I'll be very curious to see this on future tours. Maybe not this next one, the acoustic one, but he had to switch guitars for his live setup.
Really?
Yeah, I saw on Instagram because I don't think because a Gibson Les Paul is pretty heavy, so I think he's switching over
to a lighter guitar.
To Telecasters with humbuckers, the Tele Deluxe.
Makes sense. I mean, he had a rough year.
Yeah,
Seems in good spirits. I say this like I know him. I've met him a couple times. I don't know him, but the whole band. Every time I had met them through whatever, they were always just so nice. Obviously, I'm biased. They're my favorite band.
Yes,
I've seen them live probably 70 times. About like something really stupidly high.
Yeah. Are we good? Yeah, I imagine that you've definitely seen them more than me, and I've seen them. I think I'm up to like 8 or 9 now. It's like them and Motion City Soundtrack.
I don't know why I saw them so many times. I think I used to go around every time they would tour. But when you were younger, they also did a lot of festivals. So, for example, one year at Bamboozle, I saw them do 3 sets in 3 days, right?
Yeah.
They were playing every day. Or I saw them once in MTV Studios. I saw them once, they did a show downtown in a park before, like, the VMAs one year. So I've seen them a lot of these one-off, not even tours. I saw them one time in Delaware before Catalyst was coming out, and they just did one date, just a random date before the show as a tune-up for their tour. And I went and got to see him in like a VFW or something, you know. So I've seen him at a lot of these random stops that helped accumulate my number, you know.
Sure. The thing I like about them is that I view them as a very famous band. I like that they're very chill people. But I also love the fact that, and I think they've talked about this in like different videos as well. Like they played like huge. They had a few years where they're like playing like huge arenas, and like playing like super super big places. But I love that they still like go and play like tiny smaller clubs or like DIY spaces like you're telling me. Like they don't seem like nothing. That doesn't seem like they view that as anything as being beneath them, and I think that's some of the values that they carry on from the hardcore scene.
Oh, 100%. And they just seem like regular people that do their thing. I think it helps. They're probably one of the bands with the best loyal fan bases.
Yes.
Or, you know, you get the feeling that, hey, they're not going to sell out a 10,000 person place, maybe not a 5,000 person place, but they could probably do 2,000 places for forever, you know, because they'll have enough people who really love them. Even if it's not a ton of people who like them, they have enough people who really love them that they should be in good shape for a long, long time.
Yeah, and I think that is that's what I would love as an artist. But that's the difference between like, you know, pop stardom and then like career longevity, because you could have like one big hit and then most people can't keep singing that one hit song for the rest of their lives, except
the fact that you went to a meet and greet and named a song off of a random album that they don't play live in years, and everyone around was like, "Yes, we want to hear that." That sums up the fan base, right?
I think it does. And there was also at the meet and greet, I didn't catch her name, but it was this like very like shy a Japanese woman, I think, who Cyrus knew her. Like she's apparently, I bet, so she's probably like been to a bunch of shows and meet and greets. There's like a relationship there. Like so he saw her and was like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" But I just kind of love when you can have that relationship with people whose work means so much to you. Are we going to go to the acoustic tour?
I feel like we should. I haven't bought tickets yet, but I feel like we should.
Yeah, I really want to.
Town Hall's a cool place.
Town Hall is a really cool place. I saw Brian Fallon there this year too. with a friend, and then because Chris couldn't go to that show because he was sick, we ended up driving up. We ended up taking the train north to Portchester and seeing the tour there. So I saw that tour twice. But that tour was incredible. I can't wait for the acoustic album. This year was like the year of all of my like favorite bands. I got to see, and the other show that I got to see this year, and I'm amazed that it took me this long to see these two bands live, but the Blame Canada tour with Sum 41 and Simple Plan.
Yeah, we went in different places, but
Yeah.
I loved it. I thought it was great.
I did too.
You mean Movie Star Simple Plan?
Yes, Movie Stars Simple Plan, who not only feature in this pop punk movie you were telling me about, but I think they're also a plot line in like a Mary-Kate and Olsen movie from like the early 2000s.
They might have been.
Yeah.
Or that might have been the Click 5. I mean, I don't know.
That's possible. But yeah, like one of those like power poppy kind of groups.
But I watched a movie, because this is all things pop punk this year. I watched it 2 days ago. I rented it. It was called Summertime Dropouts. It's a Canadian teen pop punk movie. And you know what? You could just turn this off. You just speed through for 2 minutes if you don't want spoilers on this movie. But in the thing is, a special appearance by Simple Plan. And the movie's all about these two bands, conveniently 3 guys, 3 girls. They all pair up in relationships because that's movie making.
Got to make that happen.
Who don't win Battle of the Bands to get on Warped Tour. And at the end of the movie, they just set up a stage outside Warped Tour, play a set, and Simple Plan just walks up to them and be like, "Hey, are you this band?" They're like, "Yeah." It's like, "Come with us," and walking backstage into Warped Tour, and the movie ends, and I'm like, "What?" It was so weird. It was fine. It's cool.
That's that sounds like my kind of thing.
I liked how neat and unnecessarily it wrapped up, but it was funny.
Well, because that's what every band that does that's the dream. Because I'm sure you remember from years ago into Warped Tour, when you're waiting online, there was always at least 1 or 2 bands that set up and were playing. And I don't think it was official part of the show. I think it was just like some industrious young DIYers like making it happen. So kudos to them. But yeah, I definitely remember seeing one band just while hanging in the parking and waiting in line for the gates to open.
I feel bad. I just ruined Summertime Dropouts for all the movie fans out there.
Well, listeners, if you did not know that Summertime Dropouts, the Canadian pop punk movie, was going to end with the Simple Plan, the band opening for Simple Plan, then I don't know.
I don't know if they opened. They just let them backstage. I don't know.
I mean that's they
all had one line. It was just very funny, you know.
Yeah. Well, they were funny. They were funny when I saw them, because there's a lot of cool things that happen. One thing I want to tell you off mic as well, because I don't want to put my anybody on blast. But one of the cool things is I loved Pierre did like an acoustic medley of like popular like 90s songs. Like it was very clear they know their audience. The other thing that stood out to me, the drummer during one of the songs, the drummer like put on
it goes to the crowd. Yeah,
goes in the crowd with a big hazmat suit on.
And I don't know if they used to do with the hazmat suit. I guess that's a COVID joke.
Yeah, right? I'm pretty sure it was a joke, and he's like the most francophone of the band. Like he has a very thick French accent.
Very.
So he's like, "I'm going to come into the crowd," and he zips the hazmat suit up. I thought it was so funny. I also
Sum 41 was great too, and Brown Sound was back. So
I was so happy to see him back in the band, because like my favorite, like Sum 41's like what makes them is that metal influence, and I think without him, he's like the shreddy metal guy in terms of guitar.
They need it to balance out their sound, otherwise they become too poppy, I think, for Derek's voice.
And like, because I remember when they wrote Underclass Hero. That was
which
first
was like
album.
Fat Lip 2.
Yeah, that was essentially like, it was like all pop punk. There was like and then like slower like kind of acoustic ballads. but I thought they were awesome. They also like they have like the image and vibe of like kind of like a punk band, maybe more so than a pop punk band.
Yeah, and they played stuff from Half Hour of Power, which was cool. They played old stuff too.
Yes, they did. I was so excited to hear all of that old stuff.
Mhm.
I can't remember if they played What You Believe or not, but I remember that I know they had played that at a few shows. I know they played Makes No Difference, and
I love Makes No Difference, and I was really happy. 'Cause I don't think I think I found out about them around Fat Lip, and then went and bought their old album.
Yeah,
And I was like, damn, Makes No Difference is a catchy song.
it's really good because I had that album for like a year before All Killer No Filler came out, and then I remember like, oh my, they're getting big. That I'm so excited, and it just took me forever to get to see them live. But like the crowd was so on board for the whole night. Like when they played In Too Deep, the whole crowd was just like jumping up and down. It felt like it was 2002 again.
It was a fun tour.
It was super fun. How was the Jersey show?
It was great, man.
Yeah.
The Jersey crowds are always fun.
Uh-huh.
Jersey always has good crowds. And I say that as a New Yorker, and I'm going to give props to Jersey. I used to go to Starline Ballroom all the time.
I love Starline Ballroom.
Stuff, and I always felt, I'm like, oh, they do bring the energy. And I know every band, like it feels like they say it every show at every location, but you'll find in Jersey the bands really are like, hey, we feel this is our second home. They don't say that. I've seen shows in other states. They don't say that in those places.
No, they don't. I remember seeing Newfound Glory at Starland Ballroom, and it was the craziest show of theirs I've ever seen. And I've seen them on Warped Tour a bunch. Obviously, I've seen them at Terminal 5 from what I could view from the distance. Like the vibes of that room were just so positive and enthusiastic.
It's like electric.
Yeah, like New Jersey crowds are the best, 100%. I have to agree with you. Like I really someday I hope to have one of those moments on stage at Starland.
Wiling out. It's
yeah,
a cool place, man.
Yeah, it is such a great place.
Definitely a deep connection there. My buddy worked there for years, so we would go all the time.
Oh, that's super cool.
And
did you go to the IHOP after?
I'm pretty sure by that point we were sweaty and cold. You'd be sweaty from the show and then walk out into that icy New Jersey air. And it's just like, get us home ASAP straight. No stops.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because Starland is one of those places you kind of need a car to get to it. It's not like
you need a car. Yeah.
It's not like PNC where you can take the train to a bus.
Yeah.
So you really need a car to
Absolutely
get
need
to
a car.
Starland. To make it the best. What other? Well, what? Because you went to one show that I didn't go to, and then I went to a show that I don't think you caught. So I want to talk about this because I was at a friend's bachelor party the weekend that Sad Summerfest was happening. Tell me about. Sad
talk about
Summerfest.
venues. I'm very on record that my favorite venue is Pier 17.
That's where I saw Sum 41 and Simple Plan.
That's cool. And I saw Sad Summerfest there. It was, I think it might have been on my birthday or like the day before. I was dead set on going, and I went with my friend Lily. She loves pop punk. I don't know if she knew all the bands here, but we saw Hot Mulligan, Mayday Parade, Steak Champs, Neck Deep.
Were Water Parks on that one too?
How much time do you have? Steak Champs is one of my favorite bands. They had the crowd at the palm of their hand, but by far the scene stealer of the whole show was Neck Deep, who went on after State Champs, and my friend was so excited. She looks at me and she just takes off her glasses, hands me her cell phone, she's wallet, she's like, I'm going in, and she flies into the pit. I saw her like 15 minutes later, and you could tell like they converted her into a Neck Deep fan. They were great, just absolutely the energy off the charts. And then Water Parks followed as the last band of the night. First off, 60 to 70% of the people went home. And we're like, we paid for the show. Let's stay and watch the whole band, the whole show. Watch them. And they were the most obnoxious. They have some catchy songs. The lead singer, and clearly the fan base for them is a little younger. And I was getting a little uncomfortable. I was like, he needs to shut up. Like, this is not Blink-182 in 1999. I was a little uncomfortable. And then I Googled what his age was, and he was like 30. And I'm like, now I'm more uncomfortable. And we couldn't even stay for their whole set. He was very, very obnoxious. Like I'm not gonna play this song unless someone shows me their tits type of guy. And you're like, dude, like, no.
Yeah, that's not
like,
really.
it's late.
That's not really okay.
People just sat
anymore.
through 10 bands. Like, no. So we didn't end up staying for them, but
you were literally
for all the water parks bands out there. I'm sorry.
Right. You literally like saw them. We're like, nah, I don't need to. Sing
we tried.
this.
We stayed for like good 5-6 songs, and it was the interludes between the songs specifically that made us be like, no, we're okay.
Yeah, I got you. But yeah, I still have not seen Neck Deep live, but they are like
great.
I cannot wait to because I love all their music, everything they've played. Like Sonderland was of course spectacular last year. So good. And State Champs, like I know we got to talk about we'll talk about albums and EPs, but like State Champs are like just so like every song of theirs just has like hooks for days. Like everything gets into your head so quickly.
Huge fan of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Hooked for days, always well written, well crafted. They bring the energy live. I saw them one time at Best Buy Theater, PlayStation, whatever the hell you call in New York ones.
Yeah, I think it's like the Palladium now or something.
I don't even know. And I remember watching them and looking at my buddy, thinking, I just said, wow, for a live band, I put them up there with Newfound Glory and Goldfinger. And
whoa, yeah.
Those bands I always felt live, they're pretty technically good, but there's this energy you can't recreate with them. That just, it's pervasive. I don't know what they do, and State Champs kind of has that. Well, Neck Deep definitely had it that night too. So.
Oh yeah, there's just
I haven't seen them live.
Oh yeah, their songs have like just this energy to them, and like I feel like very charismatic lead singers.
Oh, he's very charismatic. He's good with the crowd. You know, before like between songs and everything.
Like I'm really like learning to appreciate like the craft that goes into being not just a singer, but a front man or a front woman. Like just that everything that goes into like being that charismatic that you can just capture the crowd. Like you just like control that crowd for the duration of your set. It's really something to
I think
see.
it's a skill. And I'm always torn on whether it's just something you're born with. You just have that in you. You know, it's like a performer in sketch. There's some people who just make your eyes go to them no matter what they do.
Yeah.
And part of me is like, I think you might just be born with it.
Yeah. That is definitely one of those kind of like innate qualities, because like it's hard to teach charm and it's hard to teach like enthusiasm. Like there's certain things you could probably do, like if you're on stage, you're always gonna get a pop if you shout the name of the city or what have you. But
it's a cheap pop though.
Right. Well, also because we both like wrestling too. Like there are just some wrestlers that are very, like when they're on the microphone, that are just very compelling. There's just something about not only their delivery, but what they're saying and how they're saying it that is inherently compelling, which is when you combine that with ability in the ring or ability on stage, that's what catapults some people.
Yeah,
because lots of times there's people that are like very good in the ring, but they are boring to listen to. And
yeah, you're just like, I know for me, Chris, right? Chris loves wrestling. He'll be more into the technical wrestlers. I'm like, show me what you could do with a microphone. Build this story up for me, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
That's where I live.
Me and him, I don't think it was this year. It might have been around this time last year. We went to a emo themed wrestling show nearby. And like Zach from
I think it was last year, or it might have been early this year. It was sort of close to the Omicron, I think.
Yeah, I remember it being cold down. I remember I was still a little nervous to be there, but I remember but yeah, like I specifically remember like all the wrestlers having like emofied kind of names, or like dressing like kind of a little Hot Topic-y, like
It's very in now.
yeah.
Very in.
Yeah, and which of course made it really easy for the bad guys to show up and just be like, "You depressed fucks."
Yeah.
There's just some, but that's a roundabout way of saying I agree with your point as well, because like, okay, that's all. Like, I could not tell you what like a great arm drag looks like, but like if you can do like a good looking arm drag, and then I'm also invested in your character and the storyline you're giving me, then let's party.
Yeah, just being invested in it. But yeah, it's great. A great frontman is hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard.
It absolutely is something I'm trying to actively work on.
It's an interesting piece, given your background in stand up. You probably think about it even more than other people would, because that's you have to be just you up there, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely, you do. And I've seen so many.
Like I always say that is you kind of maybe have. I'm like, no, it is just you on stage.
Yeah, and when I was on stage, I used to like. I knew I always had a talent for like an ability for joke writing, but I've had to work on like the performance side of it, and again like charisma, because I used to stand up there and just kind of talk. But now I'm been working on that side, and I feel like the shows I did this year with Bright Ugly, like I feel like I was able to bring a little bit more, because I've seen tons of bands, especially in Brooklyn, where like the hip thing is to not be interesting or not appear like you're having fun. But I'm just like,
which I hate.
I hate it too.
Well, it's hard to remember seeing you last year to this year, but you definitely were working the mic this year. I just have a hard time remembering if you were last year or not. But you were having fun with it. You could tell you generally were like a kid up there. Like, hey, I'm gonna have fun. And that venue is really cool.
Yeah.
Forget the name of it, but the
Sobering.
backdrop feels like a music video should be filmed there. And yeah, no, you were loving it.
Oh yeah, I was having such a blast, because I was also playing with like one of my new favorite bands too. So I was just like, is this real life? Is this really happening right now? It's just super fun.
Yeah. It was a cool show.
It was, and thanks for coming to it.
Oh yeah, no, I had a great time.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, man. We should we get into some albums?
Yeah, I looked at the time and I'm like, ooh, shut up.
Well, I always like, I never mind when this one goes long, because I always like talking to you, Paul. But let's so because we talk shows, I also want to mention I saw Motion City Soundtrack on the 17-year Commit This to Memory tour, because it got postponed a few times. That was a great show, and I love that album.
I messed up by not going to it. It was one of those shows where I looked at my Instagram the next day and I must have known 10 people there, and I'm like, why didn't I go?
It was also great because my arm was still in the sling, and it was like returning to the scene of where my arm had been broken, because it was also Terminal 5. And they let me me and Chelsea stand in like the ADA section.
Nice.
So it was like close up. Nobody was bumping me. Nobody was grabbing my wife's butt. In the pit. Just having like a drink. It was a very pleasant way to watch a concert. I should break more bones. I should break more bones. Get more.
I'm gonna try to break my arm before so I can go see more concerts.
So I want to get into some of the albums that came this year, because I feel like this year lots of our favorite bands put out new stuff, and then there's a few things that I looked into that I was not aware of that you put on that I would love to talk more about. The main one that I want to talk about first, and then we should probably also talk about Blink reuniting. But let's talk about albums this year. Early contender for one of the best albums of the year, The Hum Goes On Forever by the Wonder Years.
And the single was great. No, I don't remember.
It was they had so many, like the music video for Summer Clothes, which it takes place at like a boardwalk. It almost looks like I don't think it's not Asbury Park or Coney Island, but it's like a boardwalk carnival kind of place. Has these two like kind of like rubber band looking balloon animal characters. I thought this album. I thought The Hum Goes On Forever. It combined. It was. It felt like more of a rock album for them, but I also think it was a little bit more straightforward than their last couple of records,
which I preferred. The
Me
song I
too.
loved in it was I just pulled it up and I forgot. Old Friends Like Lost Teeth, maybe.
Oh yeah, that's a great song.
And that song sounded like they are now, but could have been on an album more of 3 years ago or 3 albums ago.
Mm-hmm.
But it fit in both ways.
Yeah, kind of like maybe closer to Greatest Generation.
Yeah,
era.
Than maybe the last one or two, which I can't remember any of the names of it.
Yeah, there was the funeral. There was one that was like very much like obsessed with death and like very shoegazy, and then there was Sister Cities, which was also had some very rocking songs on as well. But I feel like The Hum Goes On Forever just combines. It has everything that I love about that band and what they do, and now also that they're older and writing from like a place of like being dads, like being like Soupy's a dad now, and they've grown out of kind of like the songs they were writing for like
yeah, what was the type of music that they were considered? Because they were lumped in with, say, Forever the Sickest Kids, those type of bands, and just easycore, maybe.
Yeah,
is that what I'm thinking of?
They started as easycore, and then,
but I don't think they ever really fit the aesthetics of those other bands.
No, they never really had like neon monster merch stuff.
They were lumped in with them, but I always thought they were really good lyricists, even on their more immature stuff. I see why they were lumped in with other bands, maybe because of the way they broke down stuff, but I always thought that they were pretty talented.
Oh, 100%. Soupy's lyrics always like hit me as being like very dark, even with like very up when the melodies were very upbeat, and some of the lines on this album just I was like, I need to sit down for a second because that line just punched me in the stomach.
Very honest lyricist.
Yeah.
In a way that when you read pop music stuff and people are like, I bared it all on this album. And I'm like, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
Soupy does. Like he really puts his stuff out there.
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. Which is I really appreciate like that authenticity. And I liked that these songs were, I think, a little bit. I feel like these songs like got to the point. Like they just kind of like hit you. They hit you with in the feelings very very quickly.
All the feels.
Yeah, they give you all the feels, like right off the bat. So I just was like really into Hum Goes On. Loved it. And then my other favorite album that I was so excited to listen to, and I got to listen to early, and I was so excited for it to come out. My buds and Goalkeeper put out their debut full length. And it's called I Wish I Met You Sooner.
Well, and can I say, if anyone from Goalkeeper is listening, I did ask Will if I could listen to it, and he was like, no, I promised the band. You have to wait. So I waited and bought it like whatever when it came out. So I just want to verify that for the audience.
Oh yeah. And it was
and you gave me a look like, Paul, I love you, but I promised.
It was like, I can't do it, man. It was no disrespect, but I was like, I can't do it.
Yeah, no, it was fair. It was probably not a nice thing for me to ask, because it just all it does is makes you in a weird position no matter what. But I was excited, you know.
Yeah, and then when you listened to it, what did you think when you listened to it?
Well, it was cool because the way I view it is they're people, and I don't know them, right? But you know, you could see them in more local band type settings. You open up for them before. I've heard them on your podcast too. And we're listening to it, and it's like, wow, I sort of had this view of them, but like, no, this is like a big, bold, real album, you know? And I think it made me realize, like, oh yeah, just because you have a great relationship with them. And I was just like, oh damn, this is good and this is catchy. Like, this is awesome.
Yeah,
like good. Like, hope maybe they are listening too, because I know they're friends of the podcast. So
they are. They all came back.
Awesome job, man. I listened to the album. sometimes for fun when I'm on Facebook and I see someone posting about Goalkeeper on like my pop punk groups, I'll like, dude, check out their new album because I know
Uh-huh.
I'll get some likes and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And you know, you gotta promote the local ones, and you know, any friend of Will's a friend of mine too. But if you're a friend of Will's who's in a really good pop punk band, then you're really a friend of mine.
Oh, 100%. And it's just, I felt like this, I was so excited. Well, I was also excited when that first, because I got to hear that first new single when I played with them, uh, came out. And what they told me, or what Ryan told me, like when they were working on these songs, is they were looking to make like romantic, wistful, lonely music.
Mm.
Like, and there's this sort of kind of, like, all the lyrics are all very like, kind of like, um the lyrics are always like they're focused on like relationships, but all of the like, not the like so much of the yearning for someone, but
Mm.
just sort of in the like, there's songs about like literally the title track of the album, I Wish I Met You Sooner. That's a very romantic song. And then there's like
It's a
the
great line too.
it's a great line. Like when Mark told me that was the name of the record, I was like, oh shit.
Mm.
That's really good. And then
It's cool too because you know there's enough, and I'm saying this because you know from the Backdoor shows, there's enough, you know, unhappy songs out there or bad
uh-huh.
things. We can have some fun.
Yeah, exactly. And we can write about different parts of relationships. We can write about like it, like
Not just the end.
yeah,
You're allowed to.
yeah. You can write about like the good. You can write about the good parts. You can write about like the happy parts.
Mhm.
And then if you're writing about the end, you can write about it from a perspective that's more takes on more ownership.
Mhm.
That's a phrase that had been in my head lately. Is like, it's not just like, you suck. It's like
It's more complex.
yeah,
It's
it's more
not
like,
so black and white.
yeah, it's like well, what it's like, I contributed to this and how did I do it, kind
Mhm.
of thing. So they're hitting the road hard next year, and I can't wait to.
Nice.
I want them to. I just want them to do well, and because I am just such a fan of the band. Like, I was a fan of the band before I became buds with them.
Which is cool. Well, I
Um,
remember getting their EP and being like, "Oh, this is good. This
uh-huh.
is good."
Yeah.
I think by that point you were friends and had them on the podcast, and you're like,
Hmm.
"You should really listen to this band, Paul."
Yeah, I was like really deep in.
And I was like, "Cool, could you get me the EP early?" And you're like, "No."
It was like, I can't. I was told I could not. And then the other, because we've alluded to this earlier. My other favorite full length that came out this year, and the album that had my top streamed song of the year on it, Kings of the New Age by State Champs. Really solid, like just all around great album, and it had a lot of different great
A lot of
sounding,
different
great
vibes.
songs on
I
it.
find with State Champs, you know, I think that's their fourth full album, I
Hmm.
think.
Yeah.
And I just love every one of them, and they just don't leave my listening rotation. And there's not a lot of bands I could say that for that just
Hmm.
linger in there
Yeah.
and at any time just come back on. And I loved it, man. I was so happy to see them live this year with the new album.
Hmm.
And they played a couple new songs, and audio knew every word.
Very cool.
Knew every word.
That's awesome. Did they
Uh,
play Everybody But You?
wait, is that the
Enough is enough.
Oh, yeah,
'Cause,
absolutely.
yeah, that
Working on the weekend? Yeah,
yeah,
sorry, that's what
working
those.
on the weekend.
Oh, yeah, I want to say they opened with it, or I played it very early on in the set,
Uh-huh.
and the entire crowd, because there's really just a chant part, and everyone's just singing the chorus. And I was like, cool, this is fun. So I love
Awesome.
going to shows, and that's
Uh-huh.
a fun line too. Being with
Yeah.
you's like working on the weekend.
Yeah, it's a really good line. And then my favorite song on the album, and I must have listened to this like dozens of times. And this one I felt like was stylistically kind of not a unusual stretch for them, but I feel like it brought some groups together that don't normally hang out. The song "Act Like That," which is there's a music video for, and it's like it's like cuts between them playing in a field while like dirt bikes jump behind them,
Mhm.
and like a track, like a track and field, or like a field day sort of contest. Um, I would describe it as more of like a pop rock song, but then the only reason I would say it has slight country influence is because in the bridge, this guest vocal comes in from a guy named Mitchell Tenpenny,
I downloaded his album.
Who's an up and coming like pop country singer, has a really good solo stuff, but he comes in and has this like huge guest vocal where he sings like, "I wanna know where you stand."
Yeah.
And I remember hearing that and listening to the video, and I was like, "Holy shit, this is cool." That is, who is that guy?
Yeah, when I heard that song, my thought was, my instinct was, none of this music's gonna make popular radio, just the way it works. But if there was ever a song of any band I listened to that should be like, if this was 2002, you know, where every band was exploding on MTV or those outlets, like this would have been the song.
Yeah,
that would have just taken over.
Oh yeah,
it's a song that I could send to my friends who don't like pop punk, and they're like, "Wow, it's a great song."
Oh yeah, I know, totally. Like it has a lot of normie appeal.
Yeah,
I guess
normies
was what I would say, and nothing against the normies. I appreciate whenever they're interested in something that I like. But yeah, I just that album. I don't know. That album for me might be. That and Goalkeepers might be my albums of the year.
I know. We'll reveal it at the end, guys. But you know, no spoilers.
We'll get into it.
Yeah, some great. You know, not to go too in depth on some of them, but you know, I love Stand Atlantic. They put out a new album this year, Fear.
Yep, that one was really good.
I thought it was great. A little heavier side of them, which was cool.
That was really cool.
And there are a lot of bands for me this year. And I've never been a hater on the like people coming into the pop punk genre. One album I want to call out, it's one of my favorite albums of the whole year, is Black Bear in Loving Memory. Because it didn't feel like a SoundCloud rapper. I guess he's not just a rapper, it's only like a SoundCloud rapper. It didn't feel like someone trying to jump on the bandwagon. This was clearly a guy who's like, oh, that's the music I loved growing up, and I'm gonna write songs that sound like and need Anthony from Bayside, Jordan from Newfound Glory, Bert from The Used. You know, it didn't feel like a cash grab album. He's like, no, I wrote this. It's about his dad, right? And he had the best relationship with his dad. And, you know, it felt like he took a time capsule back to that time and wrote it. And then we started talking about this in a bar, and then we're like, we got to save it for the podcast.
Yes.
And I just want to,
I know what you're going to bring
up. We don't have to spend 20 minutes on this, but all right. So the When We Were Young festival came out this year.
Yep.
And in my head, there's been this weird history misremembered that Avril Lavigne was ever pop punk by any means possible. She had Skater Boy.
She had Skater Boy.
Even at that time, you got to remember, that still felt like a pop song on the radio and not like a pop punk song compared to the other albums that were coming out at that time.
Yeah.
But somehow she's lumped into the like the atmosphere of all these bands. But she put out a new album this year, produced, and I had to eat my words here, produced by John Feldman, which is like a pop punk album, as if she just like worked off the feelings everyone had towards her and put the album out. It's actually pretty good.
I really liked that album too, because I believe it was also co-produced by Maud Sun, who I think she's engaged to now,
married, or,
who's like one of these like
pop punk
rappers. Yeah, and I think I believe Travis Barker's the drummer,
probably
on the album, because
he drums everything.
Yeah, he is. If you are doing punk, Travis Barker is your drummer.
Well, if you're doing punk but you're not in a punk band,
exactly. But I really liked that, and it has features. It has Machine Gun Kelly does a feature. Pretty sure Black Bear might have done a feature on that.
Probably.
I know Mark Hoppus did a feature on that. Love Sucks is the name of that
That's
record.
A good song.
And
well, the opening song I listened to before I came here, because I was like, well, I've listened to this album since it came out, or not since it came, for months. And the opening track, I think it's Cannonball. It's a pop punk song, like
absolutely
straight up, no question.
It most certainly is. And Boys Lie is a pop punk song. I don't know why why it's spelled BOIS, Boys. But regardless, it's the album that I had wanted her to make, like her entire career, because you're completely right. I don't know if it was the record label or what, but like when Complicated came out, like when we were in what year was that? Was that 2002? I think maybe 2001.
It might have been earlier. I don't know.
Maybe 2000. So I remember when when that came out, she like was dressing in like tank tops and dickies and had the
Was it because she was married to Derek from Sum 41? Maybe that and Skater Boy, people are like, well, that's it. That's who she is.
Yeah, but if you like listen to that first album, a lot of those songs are like, I would I remember like Finn McKenty said, if you listen to her earlier stuff, a lot of it is like Shania Twain. It's like more like kind of like pop rock or like country ish, but like Canadian countries. But but this is but like when Love Sucks came out, I was like, oh, I had wanted her to make an album like this for so long, so I was so excited to hear it.
I think I downloaded it because I follow probably John Feldman online. And I love Goldfinger, man.
Yeah.
And I think he's a great producer. And I was like, I got to check this out. And then I was like, oh, wow, that's like she's going to lean into this. Smart for her, but it was pretty good.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of John Feldman, my E-drum sounds and my guitar amp sims are the John Feldman packs for the
He
two.
always has the best drum sounds on his albums, I felt.
Yeah.
Like if you go back and listen to the Used or when he used to do Mest and stuff, they always had a pops, like the snare always pops.
Snare was
so
super crisp.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, and the drums were like super round, like round and warm. I loved it. Two other singles I want to make sure we shout out here. Did you hear the song "Pieces of You" by Nothing Nowhere? Speaking of like pop punk rappers?
I downloaded it because of you.
Yeah,
it was cool. I liked it.
That one was another like highly rated one for me. And then I want to make sure I should also mention my other friends from in a Philadelphia area pop punk band Friend Circle put out two new singles this year. One was called 47, and one was called Golden. And I just thought that these songs were like just bangers.
I love 47. Like,
yeah,
well, it's in heavy rotation. I don't know if you're friends with them either, but I am a huge fan of it. We just want to give a lot of shout outs right now. We're in that mode. But,
yeah.
Gold Steps, but Thief Club. Because I love Thief Club.
Yes. Love Thief Club.
That single Stay the Same I thought was great. I love anything they do.
Yeah, the riff on that song was just so like just such a banging such a banging song.
Want to give this band a shout out because I want to make sure we don't miss them. Because I guess they really put out an EP. I don't know if it was a full length. I don't really know, but Magnolia Park. Really love Baku's Revenge, their newest album. But Addison Rae, the single, I just cannot get out of my head. No matter how many times I listen to it, I just I walk around like blonde hair, like you, and I'm just like Paul, stop, you know.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that until you told me to put it on and I put it on for like pre-show music, like at Tech or something. I was like,
so I can get pumped up.
Yeah,
fuck the rest of the crowd.
And I was like, oh, this is good. Oh, it's we you can curse on here. It's fine. That one was really great. And then I guess the big news for me personally, with Tom DeLonge rejoining Blink-182, there was a new Blink song this year. What did you think of it?
I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna preface this by saying I know that I'm going into it craving the Mark Tom vocals. I thought it was catchy. I'm excited for it.
I did. I loved it too.
They seem to have a new energy that's probably been missing for that band for a decade.
Yeah.
So I think it's gonna be fun. At a minimum, their live show is gonna be awesome.
I can't wait, and we're gonna see that live show.
I know.
Yeah, because
we have to do a podcast about that show.
we might, because I've got a lot to say, and I also this is also Blink related. I don't know, nothing official is announced yet, but Tom has new signature guitars that he got made.
I feel that I feel like he is the one who's like really a kid in a candy store again, just like, oh my god, we're back. And
yeah,
it was nice. And you know, this is how I know we're getting older, or the bands are getting older. It's not funny, but you know, Mark went through a huge health scare this year, and the positive you could take away from it, that anyone should take away from in any time something happens in their life is, life's not forever. It's short. It's not guaranteed.
Yes.
And all the stupid stuff you fight about, whatever they were fighting about, is not worth not being together.
100%.
Especially Mark and Tom, they were probably doing this since they were like 15 together.
Yeah.
And they really, especially, I mean, Travis came in when they really blew up, but they had all those war stories for years, and it's it's cool that they're back together. Friendship lives on.
Yeah, I'm glad that even before he officially rejoined, like he had appeared on Mark's podcast and After School Radio, which is on Apple Music, and they seemed like they were at least friends. Like they were friendly again.
Yeah,
like there was no animosity. And that was really nice to see. And then, that's also something ironically I thought about watching Clerks 3 is that, now, like, not that we're on death's door, like, but, do stuff before.
We might be.
Like, do stuff before, because stop thinking, oh, I've got time. Don't think like that. Don't think like that, because you might not.
I'm pretty sure if I didn't cry, I teared during Clerks 3. I was not prepared for what was coming. I'm not going to say anything more. I just did not think the movie was going to be such an emotional movie. I thought it'd be, hey, let's get the gang back together and make some stupid jokes. Was I
know.
out in for a ride. I mean, in the best possible way, because I don't know, especially growing up or when his movies came out, Kevin Smith, even though, it's not pop, I associate it with that culture.
Totally. Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of overlap in sort of like that those two fan bases for sure. So yeah, I'm really glad that the silver lining of Mark's cancer scare and subsequently now he's cancer free was that I think that probably put some things into perspective for Tom. It also helped that Tom, like, Tom officially proved that aliens exist. That was helpful.
They do. 100%.
Yeah. And then I really thought it was really classy for Tom that Tom wrote a message to Matt Skiba.
Oh, and then Matt wrote a message back.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that they talked in person.
Yeah, I'm sure they did, because there's always like there became that weird schism in the fan base where there's people that were just like, Matt's great, and they're like, no, there's only Blink with Tom, and there was that sort of schism between. But I really like that Tom wrote that message, and I'm paraphrasing a bit here, but he said, Matt, I love your band, Alkaline Trio, and you joining Blink kept this band going for it to still exist. So thank you for being a member of our band. And then that Matt was happy to see Tom rejoin as well.
Yeah.
I thought that was really great.
It's kind of heartwarming.
Yeah.
It was great. And look, we grew up on Alkaline Trio too.
Yeah.
And look, Matt was great in the band. I saw him live. And I was like,
did too.
Maybe he's better than Tom proficiently, but Blink is Tom. Blink in my mind, Blink is, Mark, Tom, Travis trio.
Yeah. There's just something about like when those three guys write songs,
it works best.
That is just amazing. And I all the controversy over the ticket prices, like for the reunion tour, I don't let that bother me too much, because I'm just excited that
it's more of the system that it's the same. I mean, it happened way worse with Taylor Swift. I know.
Yeah.
People are bugging out, and the only thing I would say is, like, all these artists band together to like stop using Ticketmaster or something like that. I don't know how it works, but
yeah,
I don't really know the business behind it to comment on it logically or whatever. But they're not the first band it went to. It won't be the last one. I do hope that I saw Blink-182 one time on something called the Dollar Bill Tour.
Oh, was that with Bubba Sparks?
Yes, so I've seen Bubba Sparks live.
Ugly.
And because I saw them for $1, I'm like, I don't know. I'm sure they probably could have made it a little better, but it's also how that dynamic pricing works seems ridiculous in its own right. And should not be allowed. Imagine you did that for like movie tickets. What crazy it would be.
Oh, well,
Like,
that would make the system collapse.
I guess no one
for
really goes
sure.
to movies anymore. But like, think of Avengers Endgame, where there were just sold out screenings for like a week straight.
Yeah.
Imagine the ticket prices getting to like $100 to get into the theater. It's,
Oh
I
my
don't know.
God. Yeah, that would be
Mhm.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
One absolutely. Well, yeah, because my issue is always with Ticketmaster and their business practices. But I'm fortunate. I'm fortunate enough that I got in early and was able to uh, was able to grab tickets without having to refinance the apartment.
It seems like they took the message from fans too, because they
Mhm.
commented on it, and I think Mark was saying he was trying to go and buy tickets himself and
He
fell into the
did.
same trap. And
Yeah,
I have a feeling that I hope they learn a lesson from it and figure out something next time. But
for sure.
I don't know if it's not like it's them controlling it. It's a system of when you're this huge band. And
Yeah.
look, the business of being in a band like that, right or wrong, they make a lot of money, so it's tough to defend them. But it's not like it's not like if we were to go on tour and we're booking these local venues, they're part of a big system that has agents and they're all doing this stuff for them.
Yeah.
And right or wrong, I don't think there was a malicious intent behind it.
I don't think so. Yeah, it's just kind of the reality is at that level.
Hmm.
A lot of things are just different,
Yeah.
and unless you're there, then you don't. It's hard to kind of
Yeah.
understand.
Break up Ticketmaster.
Yeah,
That's the answer, probably.
yeah. I think it is. Or we need more viable uh options.
Hmm.
Like I'm gonna try to grab and playing into like I'm gonna try to get tickets for the Postal Service Death Cab for Cutie 20th anniversary
Oh, I saw that.
that's coming
Yeah.
up, and that's through seated.com. So I'm going to try to grab that. We'll see
Mhm.
how the experience is. I'm also going to be doing it from my ear, nose, and throat doctor's waiting room. So we'll see what
Ooh,
happens.
best of luck.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Anything else? What else can we make sure that we let people know about?
I'm sure there's a lot of songs or albums I missed. I really love the single "Bot Lobby" by Waster. I didn't talk about that one. I really love
I
the
liked that
album.
song. I liked that song too.
The whole album, "You Had to Be There" by Young Culture. I know I sent that one to you. That's been pretty high on my playlist for a while now.
Yeah,
It's
let's
newer.
talk about that. Let's talk about that album a little bit because you sent that to me recently, and I hadn't listened to it before you sent it to me, and then it instantly became like a favorite of the year. Like there was something like it is. It's not punk. It's more like veers towards like pop rock. Or I think what I said to you is that it sort of reminds me of the Maine's album Black and White.
Hmm.
Like it has more like
Very main. You remember Every Avenue?
I do,
Like
yes.
maybe even newer Mayday Parade, more pop rock alternative feel,
Uh huh.
but influenced clearly by pop punk. But it's just really catchy. It's like really catchy
Uh huh.
songs.
Oh my god, yeah. I loved that album. It's called You Had to Be There.
Hmm.
Um I thought it was great.
Fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I really loved that I didn't bring up. Oh, an EP that I really loved. I missed them on the show I went to because I didn't get there in time. Hot Milk is the band. The King and Queen of Gasoline. It's like a
Mhm.
5-song EP or something. It's very good. It's
Oh,
very cool.
excellent. And that is that's awesome. And what do they kind of sound like?
Oh man, I don't know. Maybe even more rocky because I guess they're
Uh-huh.
European, right?
Okay.
Like the male singer is very European.
Okay.
Like I feel like I'm watching Berlin in Bumper in Berlin on Pitch Perfect.
Okay.
So I don't know if they're like a German band or whatever. But it's once again it feels influenced by that scene, but it's definitely
Mhm.
got a somewhat metal, somewhat punky, somewhat big arena flair to it.
Ah,
Male, female vocals.
cool.
Um, I wasn't. I had some of their older stuff that I thought was okay, and then I got this album, and I was like, oh, they figured something out. Something clicked in their band that
Uh-huh.
took them to a new level. That was that
Awesome.
was a that was a really I really like that EP.
Awesome. I'm gonna have to make sure I give that a listen. Last question before we. I know we're this. I always love these episodes. And I have no problem.
I
With
knew
them
we were
going
in
on.
trouble when it was like 20 minutes in and we hadn't started talking about music yet. I was like, oh, this is a long one.
I know.
Thanks for sticking with us.
Yes, absolutely. What are you anticipating pop punk wise next year? What are some shows you're looking forward to? Any releases you're looking forward to? I, of course, am excited about the Blink tour and the new Blink album, and then the New Found Glory acoustic tour. Anything else that you're looking forward to?
If I go to the When We Were Young festival, I don't know, but the lineup is stupid.
Yes,
what I'm hoping next year is we have a nice mix of seeing some of the newer young bands. Hopefully, I didn't get to see them, but they just kind of came back around. It was a band like Midtown. And they had Movie Life opening, like it was like really 2004.
Oh, nice.
But hopefully getting the chance to see a mix of the new school and the old school together. I saw it's not a good example, but I saw the Bamboozle is coming back, but it's not pop punk based. It's just like all more rock based. But I hope that We Were Young festival ideas catch on more and there are more bigger tours or maybe more touring festivals. I think that'd be really cool because there's such a market for it.
Yeah.
It's very in right now, and that only lasts 2-3 years, right? Of it being the hip thing to do.
Yeah.
So I hope they find a way to capitalize it, not as a money grab, but as a way to highlight some of these new bands too. Like use the old bands, highlight the new bands, and kind of keep that all going. But the shows I go to have been packed for the new bands. So
same here.
I know people still always joke like, "Oh, you still listen to New Found Glory and Blink-182?" And I'm like, and the new bands that come out, you know.
Same.
So for all of those, there's state champs, and they're not even that new, but like a Magnolia Park, right?
Yeah, Magnolia Park or Nothing Nowhere or a Goalkeeper or a Friend Circle. You and I have this in common. We are always enthusiastically looking for that new band because there's a very specific sound in pop punk sound that just like hits us like deep.
It makes me so happy.
Me too.
And that's so weird, but it just makes me so I sincerely. But we were in tech, I think, or maybe before the last show. I was like, "Can you put on the Addison Rae by Magnolia Park? I just need to get jazzed up right now. I need I need that blood flowing."
Yeah,
and I know that. Just with those riffs and the catchy chorus and that jump beat with the drums, like I'm instantly gonna kick into gear.
Oh, absolutely. And you had a bunch of great Christmas songs on the pre-show playlist, pop punk Christmas songs. So I was very excited.
Easy one.
Yeah,
easy to fill.
And then just seeking out all these great bands that I found from Japan and I'm not doing that for other styles of music. That is what I'm passionate about, and that's why I look forward to this podcast.
Even though I don't have Spotify, I'm still on Apple Music. I wish I had the thing that showed my festival at the end of the year, because it would be just When We Were Young festival, probably.
Yeah, I think that's probably what mine would be as well.
A lot of the same type of genre. I'm not eclectic at all. I don't venture out too much. I like top 40 radio a little bit. But it's more because they're catchy songs and they get stuck in my head. But for the most part, it's 99% the same music.
Yeah,
same genre. Genre.
Yeah, same here. I also like power pop and more like your Sister Hazel kind of bands, like rock bands that have acoustic rock songs.
All for you.
Yeah, stuff like that. And I also like your songs, Paul.
Oh, thank you. Well, segue.
Yeah. Well, so that's why I was hoping we could close the show out. Paul, would you be willing to play the Hanukkah song that you did for the Backdoor BBQ show?
I would, but we forgot one big thing before we go.
What's that?
What's your album of the year?
Album of the year? I think it's Kings of the New Age. By
Me
State
too.
Champs.
We don't have to debate
it. So much.
We did talk before, as friends do, and we both knew we were going to go with State Champs.
Yeah, I will say that, and Goalkeepers, I Wish I Met You Sooner is really high up there too, because that album is really amazing.
That's awesome. I think my number 2, what I was wrestling with, was actually Black Bear. I like that album that much. I listened to it obnoxiously this year.
Fantastic. Friends, go and check out if you are hip to what we've been putting down. Go out and check out all this stuff, and so tell me about this song you're gonna play.
Yeah, well, what's special to me about this song is my whole idea. If anyone is in New York, catch like a Backdoor BBQ show. Next shows are February 16th and 18th at the Pit. But the idea behind it was really around this time of year. I always loved that these bands put out Christmas albums, and they were just about breakups and pop punk emo songs, and I thought it was funny. And I always was like, hey, how come no one puts out a Hanukkah song? Wouldn't that be funny to do it that way? And I had convinced the guys in Backdoor if I could do this one show, and they allowed me. And now I've written obviously a lot more songs and done a lot, but this was actually the first one I wrote and did, so it's a little near and dear to me. And the first time we did it live, and I just thanked the audience, and they just started singing. And I kind of was
Amazing.
like, I need to do this every show. And it just became this craving of, I need to do it. And I want to try to perform more next year. If you ask me one thing, like I did 2 shows without Mike and Chris, just me singing. And I thought that was cool. And they went well enough that I would do it again.
Awesome. Well, I will make sure to, if I can go to one of those solo ones, I will definitely.
I was kind of quiet. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to mess this up really bad.
Well, I can't wait to share this with the listeners. So let's get it set up, and we'll hear. Does this song have a name?
I think I had called it 8 Reasons, but then someone was like, it sounded like the show 13 Reasons Why or something, the Netflix show. So
okay.
I'd called it 8 Reasons at one point, but wow, it's a major flaw in my songwriting process. Let's call it 8 Reasons.
All right, sounds good. All right, and let's set it up, and we'll get to it.
Yeah, so this song, we're just gonna do it in one take, see how it goes. It's called 8 Reasons. Shout out to all my members of the tribe out there, because we deserve a pop punk Hanukkah song too. The room is warm as we light the menorah. The Lockies cook right on the sofa. There's an empty chair where you'd always sit. And this year I saved myself from buying 8 gifts. Baruch Atah, I don't know if I want you anymore. You make this holiday feel like a chore. And every Hanukkah night I think of everything you've done, and I have 8 reasons why you're not the one. My head's spinning like a dreidel that landed on Shin. You gave me nothing, but I put everything in. Yeah, the Maccabees found oil that lasted 8 nights. Yeah, if we found oil, it would have lasted 8 fights. Baruch Atah, I don't know if I want you anymore. You made this holiday feel like a chore. And every Hanukkah night I think of everything you've done, and I have 8 reasons why you're not the Baruch Atah. I don't know if I want you anymore. You make this holiday feel like a chore. And every Hanukkah night I think of everything you've done, and I have 8 reasons why you're not the. I guess I'll play some dreidel to take my mind off you. A dreidel has 4 sides, but not as many as you. You roll a none, you get nothing. You roll a none, you get nothing. I rolled a none, I got nothing. You were a none, you were nothing. Baruch atah, I don't know if I want you anymore. You made this holiday feel like a chore. And every Hanukkah night I think of everything you've done, and I have 8 reasons why you're not the Baruch atah. I don't know if I want you anymore. You make this holiday feel like a chore. And every Hanukkah night I think of everything you've done, and I have 8 reasons why you're not the one. Happy Hanukkah, everybody.
Awesome, dude. That was great. I didn't hear the full bridge at the show because I think at the show Mike has like little bits.
Yeah, there's a live and a studio. There's different versions.
There's a live and a studio version. Well, I might have to isolate that so we could put that out on its own.
Cool.
And with the podcast. So, Paul, thanks again for coming by. I love that this holiday tradition kind of spontaneously just kind of happened, and I look forward to it every year.
I have so much fun, doing it. We talked for a long time.
Yeah,
it was great. It's like us just hanging out, and this is what it is to hang out with us.
Yeah, this is what hanging out with Will and Paul is like. So, be our friends and come see us in the new year. And this will be out the week of Christmas, and Hanukkah will be happening as well. So, happy Hanukkah and happy Christmas, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
And thanks for doing the show again, Paul. Appreciate it.
Always.
All right, folks, that's me and Paul doing what me and Paul do. And thank you all again for being here this year. This is our last episode for 2022. We'll keep going into 2023. And I'll keep it pretty simple. Thank you again, Paul, for coming over to chat. I always like hanging out with him. And one last thing I'll say before we outro here for 2022 is one other thing that Ed, Uncle Ed, he was always interested in the idea that I did a podcast, and I think he would have been a great podcast host. He expressed interest in wanting to do it, even though I don't think he knew exactly what podcasts were. I think he liked the idea of like sitting down and chatting with people, and that's pretty in keeping with what I knew of him. And I think he would have been an excellent podcast host. So, again, I will miss you, Uncle Ed, and I'm glad that I knew you. So, be excellent to everyone that you see this holiday season. I hope you all have a great new year, and I will see you next time in 2023 between awesome and disaster. Take care, everybody.